our players made the most of it.
I didn't even go live, Santelki.
Oh, we're live now. We're live now.
Initial conversation, and we're live now. So welcome to everybody who was waiting. You were probably wondering what happened with that countdown. I did the countdown for no reason. So they were just waiting there. No countdown. We just did it for ourselves. But we're live now. Let's start again. So as you were saying, Santelki, thinking we were live when we weren't. Bangladesh 3, West Indies 0. Bangladesh take all 30 points in the ODI Super League first encounter. We said it was going to end 3-0. Not one bit of a surprise.
No.
Were any of those games. And I'm still not disappointed because everything that I expected to happen happened.
Yeah, exactly. And as we were saying, we were optimistic and thought West Indies might get a consolation win in its last ODI if Bangladesh rested players. Unfortunately, Bangladeshi man weren't having it. They wanted all 30 of those ODI super points, so they played their full team. I guess, Mash, one thing that you did predict was that West Indies would build upon their innings in each ODI, and that's happened by pretty much the exact same margin of like 20 runs, pretty much, in each ODI.
Do you know what? Let's start there. I think I tweeted at the end, or sometime shortly after the match had finished, that any genuine West Indies fan, one, you knew what was going to happen. You knew it was going to be a 3-0 defeat. The only West Indian fan who could have possibly predicted anything else wasn't being serious with themselves. So a 3-0 defeat was obvious. We knew, and Santelki, we said this on the podcast, we said this on the Ramsha Diaries, we knew that we couldn't bat. We weren't concerned about the bowling. We knew we couldn't bat. And that batting would be a huge problem. So again, unless you're tricking yourself, that was just obvious to anybody who follows West Indies cricket. So all I had ever wanted to see in this series was, could they improve after each game? And to be honest, whether people think the improvements were big enough, they fulfilled that criteria. 1-2-2 in the first one, 1-4-8 in the second one, and what was it today? 1-7-7 all out today. Listen, if they had continued playing that series for a month, we might have made 300 by the end of the month. So they did what I expected.
Yeah, I mean, if we go from the start, so Bangladesh made 297 for 6. We made early inroads actually. Litton Das, LBW, Alzari Joseph. I guess one positive. I mean, there's a few players who had positive tours. I'd say about 3. Alzari Joseph, one of them. Even though he didn't take many wickets, he was economical in conditions which didn't benefit him. So he made the most of conditions, and he showed potential for the future. He showed the characteristics of being a leader of a bowling attack, because this was as inexperienced a bowling attack as you could get. Alzari Joseph was the only experience. So he kind of led that attack, led by example. Last 2 ODIs, he bowled his full quota of 10 overs. As I said, economical, a few variations here and there. So that was promise for the future. And he's someone who's obviously, whereas a lot of players, we probably won't see them in West Indies colours again. He's someone we're hoping to see long-term as a spearhead for the bowling attack.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was definitely impressed with Alzari. I think it helped him that he had a clear, defined role in the team. Obviously, he was told, you're the most experienced bowler, you are leading it. And I think he relished that. I think he relished the opportunity to lead the bowling attack. Often when he's bowling red ball for West Indies, he just looks a bit lost, like the ball's thrown to him as like a last resort of, it's your turn now, as opposed to, this is your specific role in the side. So I was impressed with him. And like you say, I think Bangladesh reached 67 for 2 after 18. And I tweeted that they're going to make 250, 300. That was just obvious. There was a point in time when Shakib got out, I was disappointed because he was on 50 off 88. And I was like, oh, perfect. Now, obviously, he could have gone on to get a century. But if you're batting that slowly in an ODI situation, I don't care. Keep that person in. Because once Mushfiqur and Mahmudullah came in, they were batting at more than a run a ball. So I was more than fine with Shakib staying in, basically batting really slowly for him. And then once Mushfiqur and Mahmudullah came in, obviously they took the game away. But the game, once they got past 200, the game was away. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's irrelevant whether they got 296 or not.
I thought Carl Mayer's bowled well as well. Carl Mayer's had a good performance. Akil Hussain as well, consistently 3 ODIs. I'd say pretty good performances for a spinner on debut for the West Indies. Keon Harding though got taken. He's obviously another one who's a long-term prospect for West Indies, but I think he got taken to town in this ODI. I think it was 88 runs he went for his 10 overs. But that's a learning experience. That's the thing. It's like what we said earlier in our previous podcast. If you've got young players on this tour who are going to learn from the experience, by all means, you can say there's positive aspects to it because it's part of their development. The problem is for this side, a lot of them, as I said, are past 30. They're just not at the level of international standards. So we won't see them again. So in that way, there was nothing tangible gained for a lot of these players and for West Indies fans from this tour.
Yeah, nothing. Who can we take away? So Akil Hussain, he will be in whatever our next ODI squad is. I expect to see him there.
What's mad is, so the top 3 wicket takers for West Indies in this series, Akil Hussain, Akil Hussain looking like Shane Warne out here, 4 wickets, you know. Who was it? Raymond Rifer got 3 wickets. He was second, and Jason Mohammed bowling part-time spin was the 3rd highest wicket taker for us with a mighty 2 wickets. Hey, where's the run, man? Where's the Ray nephew? Please, I beg.
God. This thing is, again, I have to return. It's hard to be critical though, and I think. In fact, now let me deal with positives first, and I'll say this point. So, Akil, I expect the next ODI squad versus Sri Lanka at home, if it's I think it's limited overs against them as well. I expect to see Akil in there. Alzari would have been in the squad anyway because he's our ODI bowler in general anyway, so he will be in the squad. Rovman will be in and about it. But he was anyway. They might give Carl Mayers a chance. They might, but he might have to bide his time. But other than those 4, no one else is going to look in. And some of those players aren't like that was their one and only, like not their one and only time, but like McCarthy, that's it.
Yeah.
He can at least.
To be fair, if you look at it from someone like McCarthy's perspective, he was on that tour of Pakistan in 2018. So he was probably thinking, he was probably thinking like, that's it, that's my one cap. And so this has just come as a bonus for him. So even in that regard, I don't think these players will be too disappointed because they weren't the likes of McCarthy, Bonner, definitely in white ball, Bonner, McCarthy, even Jason Mohammed to an extent. They probably thought their West Indies career was done. So to come back, these are essentially bonus caps for them.
Listen, everyone's got a story to tell their grandchildren. So it's good for them, you know. Played for West Indies, you did your piece. Jason Mohammed can say they got 2 wickets at 17 in Bangladesh. It's all good for him, you know.
What's mad for Jason Mohammed is Jason Mohammed's a good player, don't get me wrong, right? Especially T20 period with Trinidad and Tobago, 2012, 2013 Champions League. He's a good player. Obviously, now at this point, he's not at that level, 33 years old. But what's mad is he's essentially been called in to troubleshoot as captain for 2 tours now, the Pakistan tour and this tour, called in as a captain to play the 3 games, and then that's it, never seen again. which is unusual, but as I said, like you said, it's something to tell the grandkids. He can now say he's captained West Indies in 2 different formats.
Most definitely. Now, Chatil is saying here, West Indies are in danger of playing World Cup qualifiers again, going to be a fatal series. The thing is, lots of people have sent us that, but I don't care because 2 reasons I don't care. It's not a fatal series because it is what it is. Like, the minute the players pulled out, we were going to lose. So I don't even see it as a fatal series. We might not even have won with our full squad. So we might have won a game, but there's no guarantee we would have won. We would have won 3-0 or 2-1 or whatever it might be. So I think the fear of World Cup qualifiers is essentially fear of the unknown. Like, you know, in football, if you've got a big team like Newcastle, they were in the Premier League for so long, they were in fear of relegation. Once they got relegated, that's it, up and down, it doesn't matter. With West Indies, the window's been broken anyway. We've already had to play qualifiers last time. So whereas before, I think last time in the last cycle, it was a big story like, West Indies powerhouses from the 80s, 90s having to play against these minnows. We've already done it once. The worst has happened, so it doesn't matter now. As long as we're there in India in 2023, I don't really mind how we make it through, to be honest. I am not stressed about it in the slightest. And to be honest, the other reason I'm not stressed about it, I think people are paying way too much attention. This is the first game. People are acting like you lose to Bangladesh and that's it. There's no more games to reprieve yourself. we've got so many ODI games to play. Bangladesh have got so many. Like Bangladesh go to New Zealand next to play ODIs. They're going to get destroyed. So it's all good and well Bangladesh destroying us, but when they go to New Zealand, they're going to get destroyed as well. Like everyone's got to scramble for whatever points they can go and scramble for whenever they can get them. And at the end of the day, our first team squad comes back for the home games against Sri Lanka or whoever it is we've got next in this ODI Super League. I fancy our chances to win some games against other people with actual first team players playing all the time. So I'm not fussed. And if we go to the qualifiers, we go to the qualifiers.
And what's good about the qualifiers is I think last time there was a big gap between the qualifiers in where were they, in Zimbabwe or something, and then there was a big gap.
Yeah,
it was like a year or so, maybe more before that. It was about a year and 3 months before the qualifiers and World Cup. This time they're playing the qualifiers in July 2023. The World Cup's in October 2023. So it's preparation games, and especially if West Indies can come out of qualifiers on a streak of wins, that confidence as well is going to be priceless going into the tournament.
Shatil says Sri Lanka whitewashed West Indies last year in ODIs. Yeah, so what? That was last year. Well, but we're moving on, man. We're not bothered. If I remember,
also that was in Sri Lanka. When Sri Lanka come to West Indies next month, I think it's gonna be a different story. To be fair,
listen, Sri Lanka were a shambles versus England, so they were batting worse than we. They were batting worse than we would bat. In a series versus England. So it is what it is. I think people have got to be careful not to jump to conclusions about what this series means in the grand scheme of things. And even that series we lost to Sri Lanka, 2 of those games, one was won by 1 wicket. So there were 2 games in that 3-match series where we should have won them and we lost them at the very, very end. I think Sri Lanka won by 1 wicket and then the other one they won by 6 runs or something. I think Fabian Allen nearly won it, chased it down himself at the end. So
I think this year in ODIs, Sri Lanka, I think we're favourites. We should be favourites at this point to beat Sri Lanka in home conditions, especially if it's a full strength squad. Australia will be the real litmus test, how we can perform against Australia in ODIs. And then I think South Africa's T20s. But really and truly, this year or the next 6 months are all going to be about the T20s, really, with the World Cup on the horizon. So the ODI is a long-term narrative. We'll see how West Indies goes. There's still a long time before we know if we have to qualify for it, if we're directly qualified. So we can build a side under Pollard. For me, the main priority is obviously getting the T20s right, filling out those last positions and defending our title in India.
100%. And actually, I'm glad you mentioned Pollard because, again, the thing that I'm not saying Pollard is superhuman. I'm not saying one man can change the context of a side. But what people have to understand is in Pollard, we have a captain who doesn't take bullshit. So when I say I'm not too fussed, the one thing I know we're guaranteed of when Pollard returns as captain and everybody else returns in that ODI squad, he doesn't suffer fools easily. So I'm not, like I say, I'm not overly bothered about how our limited overside.
Well, let's before we look at, I guess, the future of the 50 overside and where we're going, I guess let's look at the batting performance. So 177, it was an improvement, minor improvement, but it was an improvement on the past 2 ODIs. Obviously, the headline: Rothman Powell 47 off 49, counter-attacking innings, trying to. Well, it wasn't a finisher role because there was nothing to finish, but counter-attacking innings. Finished off 116 runs in the ODIs, averaged 38, which was more than double than any other batsman in the West Indies side. So he's someone who's he's put his hand up, and he should. I think he'll be in the squad for the Sri Lanka series based on these performances. But I guess batting wise, he's probably the only realistic highlight we've gained from this series of MASH.
Yeah, and I think again, not to just repeat everything we've been saying, but Rothman Powell's the most experienced player in the squad, and I think there was a narrative that I felt was running through this series of these players have to do better, these players have to do better, and I just kept thinking, and Bish actually said it on commentary today, because I all the way through the series I kept thinking, but if any other side was in this situation, they'd be scrambling as well.
You know what I was laughing about when I was. You know what I was laughing about though when I was reading the stats. Bonner and Mayers were second. They averaged 17, 51 runs across the 3 ODIs. But in third place, Jason Mohammed, 45 runs, averaging 15. So as well as telling his captains, as well as telling his grandkids he captained the side, he can also say he was top 3 wicket taker, top 3 run scorer on the overseas tour, and like as captain, led by example. But
Lily led
Yeah,
by
when you put it in, go on.
a strong average of 15, leads by example. But the thing is, well, that sums it up. That actually legitimate, and you're right though, but he actually is an okay player, but he's not really of international. He's not really.
No, I mean, if you put him in the Super 50, it wouldn't surprise me if he scored a century like that. But it's just the levels of international level. It's completely different. He's obviously he's 33 now, so his kind of performances will dwindle naturally. But going back to what you were saying, what sides? I mean, this is the equivalent of England touring Bangladesh with Ravi Bopara back in the ODI side as captain after like 3-4 years not playing any 50 overs, and a side full of third, fourth reserve players going to Bangladesh and expecting them to do a performance. That's basically the equivalent. No side in the world would be able to lose 14 players and be able to compete against a full strength Bangladesh side in Bangladesh with a week of preparation.
And anybody who tells me they would be, that's because the narrative is that Bangladesh are still minnows and are no good. Yeah, when they travel away, that might be the case. But at home, I think we have to put some respect on Bangladesh's name. Anybody who tries to say, South Africa could lose 14 players and compete. No, they wouldn't. No, they would. Why is everyone lying to themselves? And why are we supposed to have done any better than anybody else would have done?
Listen, South Africa's first team would get done over in Bangladesh, to be honest. Like, the Bangladesh are a good side. I think you could argue the case maybe India might have the reserve strength to kind of pull off something in Bangladesh with their reserve players. But that's India. The resources are infinitely higher. And the depth they've got over 1 billion people in that country. So that's not, you can't really compare. But generally, every other country would struggle. They would lose 3-0 as well. So, I mean, I'm not too disheartened by this all. Tawid, who was on the first rum shot, great guest to have on. Is there a danger of falling into the habit of losing, negative mindset, even when the big guns return? I think definitely not. Under Pollard, as we said, he just got a winning mentality. He's someone who's not used to losing. He's built a habit of winning. He'll stream it, especially into the younger players. He'll drum it in that we need to have the mindset we always win, no matter what's at stake. No matter if we're already down in the series 2-0, we have to win the third one. That kind of player. Every match he needs to win. So that mindset won't change with this.
I'm going to answer this one. So I knew this would come up. India lost 10 players. Right. First things first, there is a difference between calling up players who can represent India, who average over 40 and under whatever, 25 or whatever it might be with the ball. The players that we called up, go and look at their stats, please. Go and look at their go and look at their list A stats after playing cricket for 12 years, and a man is averaging 30 in the Caribbean, and tell me if that's the same thing. Okay. I think there's often this narrative to try and put, and new people try and put it in the India context. We can't compare ourselves to India. Okay. Their whole backup players would make up our whole side. Nobody would be in it with their whole backup players. We're not in the same ballpark here. That's a false narrative to draw.
Yeah, and I think just an example. If you look at after the second test, they flew in Rohit Sharma, who's world player, highest ever ODI individual score, played numerous tests. So the comparisons aren't even there because we had guys Bonner, McCarthy, Otley, Josh De Silva, who'd never played ODIs before. So it's completely different levels.
Yeah, 100. People undermine Bangladesh all the time. Let's not forget they've knocked out New Zealand from last Champions Trophy, beat South Africa in the last World Cup, and many such victories. Yeah. And that's why we were so confident in saying 3-0. If this was us playing Bangladesh when Bangladesh first got on the scene, then yeah, maybe we might have stood a chance. But come on, man. Look at their four big guns: Tamim, Shakib, Mushfiqur, Mamadullah. You put some respect on their name, please.
And the thing is, today they use 8 bowlers. I think Shanto, the bowler, the batsman bowled, Sarkar, the batsman bowled. So it's almost at times as if they were just experimenting at some point because they were in complete control after about 10, 15 overs. So yeah, but that's not to disrespect it. They beat the competition that was in front of them. That's all they can do. And good luck to them in the ODIs against New Zealand, basically.
Yeah, well, so they'll need that good luck. I'll tell you that right now.
So Shubman Gill from India scored 91, I believe, in the last test against Australia. Averages 60 in the Ranji Trophy, first class competition in India. So there's no comparison. We haven't even got first team players averaging 60.
We need to put 3 players together just to get to 60, you know. It's mad. There's a comment here that I saw that I wanted to put up. Let me find it. Where's it gone? Where did I lose that? Where did Bangladesh end in that World Cup? Did they come 5th? I can't even remember.
Yeah, it was on. They missed out on points, I think.
I swear they went into the last game with like an outside chance of maybe making it or something.
Yeah, something like. Because I saw them hit 330 against South Africa at the Oval. Mad, just a mad depth to them, and a really good side.
That's the one I wanted. Yeah, so Super 50. So just
to clarify, we're done with the ODIs now. We're looking forward. Super 50 coming up February. So Mash, let's hear it.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen, if you go on our Twitter page, I've posted up all the fixtures. It starts on February the 7th. Leewards versus Windwards. If you're in the UK, it's going to be on BT Sport. If you're in the Caribbean or US, it's on ESPN Caribbean. I don't know if you can get that in the States, but I believe you can. If you're in Asia, not sure how you're going to see it, but if it's on the ESPN, there must be a way. So, yeah, it starts on the 7th. For those who are saying to me, will the players who are in that T10 tournament make it back in time? So Trinidad, for example, their first game isn't until the 11th. So that gives them 5 days to make it back from... Where is it? Is it in Dubai, that tournament? Where is that T10? Yeah, to make
it Abu Dhabi or something. Yeah.
Quarantine, I think, for 2 days in Antigua, etc. So in theory, all the T10 players will actually be available for their first games. So go on our Twitter page. All the fixtures are there. And to be honest, I'm looking forward to it. Why? Because literally, apart from Chris Gale, everybody who should be available has made themselves available to play in the tournament. And as Santoki said after the last ODI, or maybe the first one, or in fact, it might even be with our pod with Fazir, when we interviewed Nikita Miller, which was episode 32 of our podcast, he said players can't improve if they play against the same players every year who don't play international cricket. This will be a tournament this year where every single main international player for West Indies is playing in the tournament, and that can only help local players get better. So we're looking forward to it, to see, not so much to see what the international players do, but I'm not really interested in what Pollard does in the tournament. I'm interested in who can shine alongside the big guns in the tournament, because those will be the players that should be making their way into the ODI squad.
And what I like about this one is obviously because of the pandemic situation, it's only one round. There's no return game, so pretty much every game is a massive game. Whereas before in the Super 50s, they were quite lengthy tournaments. You played each other twice, and it went on like that. So this one is going to be every game matters. Players will want to put their heads up in every single game, and it's a short, compact tournament, but we should see some good performances. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what players, as Mash said, what players, not the established ones, because we know Pollard can hit a century at domestic level, for instance. What players can stand up and count themselves forward for the cycle of the World Cup ending in 2023? And yeah, looking forward to it. And as Mash said, it'll be on BT Sport in the UK, so we'll no doubt be doing analysis on social media and maybe even putting up a few ROM shots if there's some spectacular matches.
The good news, Santoki, is when I was looking at the fixtures, they've even included a game for fifth versus sixth. So even if you don't make it to the semis,
you penciled that in for Jamaica, yeah?
It's a wooden spoon game, and I saw it. The first thing that went through my head was, if Guyana end up in it, I'm coming to you with slander.
Listen,
if they end up in the wooden spoon game, trust me.
Yes. So Shakes is saying, how often did domestic 50 over teams put on 300 runs in their innings? Not much. It's not really, is it?
Nah,
I don't recall.
It's not a thing. You're excited if you see a 280. To be honest,
I know it's sad times for Shakes at the moment because Devon Smith isn't in the Windward Island squad. He's down as an assistant coach. I know Shakes was looking forward. Shakes might have cancelled his BT Sports subscription though. He only had it to watch Devon Smith.
You know what? When that West Indies squad was selected and Devon Smith didn't make it, I know Shakes was cussing, you know. Devon Smith wanted that 100th recall to the West Indies side to prove himself yet again.
Yeah, but even the Windward Island squad, who you'd say were underdogs, they've got Sunil Ambrose, Spiceman, Fletcher. Spiceman's coming off a lot of hype in the Big Bash. So it'd be interesting to see what he puts up. Obed McCoy, Preston McSween. So every squad, because there's only a few teams, every squad is pretty much stacked.
Yeah. The only team we're waiting to hear from is the Leewoods to see who they're going to select. Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, when we see these tournaments, we tend to. I'm just coming at Shakes all. We tend to write off the Windwards straight away. We tend, like, you just look at the tournaments and you go, well, obviously the Windwards are going to come either last or second last in these type of tournaments. So it'll be interesting. They're the only ones I'm ruling out as having zero chance whatsoever. But it'll be interesting to see. Everyone is assuming, unless they somehow end up having to play each other, that it's a Barbados trip. They're easily the strongest sides in the tournament.
And I guess the motivation for players is obviously recency bias means that if you put up your hand in this tournament, you're most likely going to get picked for the Sri Lanka series. So it's going to be straight motivation for the players to kind of make those performances.
Hold on, there's a couple of comments I've gone all the way past here. So first things first, Tawhid said Bangladesh came third bottom. I don't even remember. So where did we come? Were we second bottom? Afghanistan must come last then.
Yeah, Afghanistan bottom. They only won one game.
Yeah, so I guess that makes sense. The three worst teams came in the bottom three positions, technically speaking. What's this? They were white. Yeah, I think that's fair enough. In fairness, that white ball pitches need to change. Yep, I hear that.
I think definitely if we want to compete on the world stage, we need to have pitches where you can score 300.
This is a good point. This one. So the tests are coming up. Is it next week? Yeah, next week. So Bangladesh lost to Afghanistan at home, didn't they? I think they lost.
No, they lost in India.
What was it away? I thought it was at home.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they lost.
I don't know.
You sure?
Let me check. Anyway. I'll Google it while you.
And did Zimbabwe draw with them? I think they might have drawn at home versus Zimbabwe, and they definitely lost something to Afghanistan. I can't remember if it was away or if it was at home. So, anyways, does that give West Indies confidence? In theory, I'm not looking at the Afghanistan one as confidence. In theory, if Zimbabwe could pull off a test win in Bangladesh, that should give us confidence. I am worried though because Sugar Leeward to put their squad out. I'll have to go look at that in a minute. I am worried though because when you look at the test lineup, and this isn't necessarily talking about the test, but quickly foreshadow it. It's going to be Brathwaite, Campbell, Mosley as the top three. Blackwood is probably going to have to come 5, not 6 in this one because Chase isn't there. And I can't tell you, things currently stand, I can't tell you who's going to bat 4 and who's going to bat 6. And it worries me that whoever it is, they're on debut.
Yeah, it was Bangladesh. It was Chittagong. Actually, you're right, Mash. So Afghanistan won. Rashid Khan got 11 wickets.
Yeah, so we haven't got a Rashid Khan, but we have got Vasami Permol, so you never know. But so does that give us confidence? No, because I would expect Afghanistan to give Bangladesh a game in spinning conditions with someone like Rashid Khan. What I do think we can do, even though the first team lost in Bangladesh last time round, there is no excuse for us to lose by an innings. I'm not accepting it. Whereas with the ODI, it was like, yeah, we're going to get smashed. I'm not accepting this side losing by an innings. I'll accept like X number of runs defeat. I think that's fair enough, but I'm not accepting an innings defeat by this side. Loads of you are dashing in comments today, boy. Can't even keep up. Sheikh says Bonner at 4. Even if I accept that, I've got no problem with that. I can't tell you who's going 6. Or Josh is at Josh might back.
I guess the thing with tests is we'll have more of an indication after the warm-up matches at the weekend as well.
It's intra squad though, right? Must be intra squad.
Must be, yeah. So but we'll get some ideas kind of who's going to play in what position and kind of goes from there. What other Lee would put their squad out on Facebook, yeah.
So we'll go look at that Rosie and go have a look at and see what exactly they're
Is
saying.
Rosie Leewards?
I don't know, Yeah, no, she's St. Lucia, isn't she? Rosie, are you St. Lucian? Have I made that up in my head?
St. Kitts.
Was it St. Kitts?
I don't know.
Yeah, So what else have we got there?
Hold on, Mash. I swear we lost 2018. We lost one of the test by innings.
Yeah, we did.
With
yeah,
our 40. That's mad.
We lost one by. I think we lost one by 64 runs, and Bangladesh beat us by both. If I remember rightly, in 2000, we lost both games to Bangladesh inside 3 days. I swear that's from what I remember in 2018, because I remember being shocked by it. I was like, wow, we're now that bad that Bangladesh can beat us inside 3 days. Yes, in their own conditions, but 3 days. But one of them was a bit close. I think one was like 64 runs.
And yeah, we're getting a lot of comments about Zimbabwe. Did not beat Bangladesh. We're getting so Chatil saying Zimbabwe beat Bangladesh in Bangladesh.
Are they talking about ODIs then? So Torhid saying it was a clean sweep. Maybe it was away. I definitely remember Zimbabwe beating Bangladesh at some point in time. So in terms of in a test or something, but maybe that was an away match, which would make sense given that Bangladesh don't tour that well.
All right, so before, I guess we'll probably end up discussing the test on a preview pod or something like that. But Mash, do you want to, this ODI series, how would you rate it overall from a West Indies perspective out of 10?
Out of 10. Given that my expectations were 0, the whole series, I'm giving them 1.5.
I was going to say 3, just because the expectations were low anyway. But I guess we'll meet in the middle and give it a 2 out of 10 then. So things can only get better looking for the test. So I guess we'll probably record a pod or something previewing the test and what we can do ahead of that 2-test series, and then look from there. A lot to discuss in that, but I'm more optimistic for the test just because there's more of a core of the usual side in this squad. So in theory, these could be famous last words. We should perform better, but at the same time, I can also see us losing by an innings, depending on how things go. So look forward to it, and I guess there's not really much else to say about the ODIs. It's almost as if it's a one-off. It's in and of itself, it's a one-off series. There's nothing to kind of lead on to afterwards. Most of the side we won't see again playing in ODI games. So we can just kind of put a line under it and start from scratch again when Podlar leads the ODI side against Sri Lanka in March.
Yeah. And the last thing before we just end this one here is, if you haven't seen, we've put up the trailer for our pod with episode with Fazeer Mohammed. So those of you who listen to the podcast, that will be dropping tomorrow morning about maybe about either 8, sometime between 8 and 9 UK time, if not maybe 10. So if wherever you listen to your podcast, go take a listen. It'll also be up on YouTube as well. So if that's your thing, go to YouTube, and it is a fascinating conversation.
A must listen. I recommend it. I mean, I'm sure everyone here will listen to it as West Indies fans, but just general. Even if you like cricket in general, just a fascinating conversation with the man for about just over an hour and 20, I think we went for. So set some time aside tomorrow and give it a listen. You'll find it on all our social platforms tomorrow being advertised. So guys, I guess great hearing from you all. A lot of comments today. Mash, any final words?
Well, take those who are West Indies fans on this, take the few positives that we can get. That's all we asked for before this ODI series. Can we come away with any particular individuals putting their name forward and forcing the selectors to pay attention to them? If the only positive you take is Akil Hussain, that's one more positive than started the test series. So take the few positives that we've got, and let's hope that those players can continue to play a significant role in West Indies cricket going forward. Take a break, stay hydrated, and get ready for the test series next week.
Good. Take it easy, guys. Hope you all enjoy your evening, and we'll catch you soon.
Sweet.